Welcome to Keys to Conflict. Today we're talking about emotions and the role that they play in conflict situations.
First, it's important to note that emotions and thoughts are two separate things. People think and people feel, and those are different.
Now, while they are different, it's very natural that they're entwined, and it's hard for them to be separated. So our thoughts and our interpretations of a situation determine how we will react emotionally and what emotions we will feel.
So let's look at an example. Imagine two friends go and see a horror movie together. And the first friend loves horror movies. He thinks they're great. He sees them on a regular basis. Favorite type of movie. Second friend hates horror movies. He's had bad experiences with horror movies in the past, and they just really aren't his type of thing. So these two friends go and see a horror movie together, and they both go through the same experience. However, how they emotionally interpret that experience is going to be probably very different. The friend that loves horror movies will probably leave excited and happy that he got to see the movie. The friend who hated horror movies is probably going to leave the movie feeling scared and maybe even a little angry that his friend suggested going and seeing a horror movie.
So let's say those two friends who saw the horror movie are Colby and Michael. I love horror movies and Colby hates horror movies. When I see Colby's reaction from the movie as fear and maybe anxious and angry that I suggested go see a movie, I may interpret it as something other than what he's actually feeling. And that's because emotional displays can be very ambiguous. And that's why oftentimes what emotions we're seeing in another person may be completely different to the emotions they are actually feeling. For example, as youthful young lads, we've done some crazy things in our life, and I can remember a time where I did something extremely dangerous. My parents got wind of it, and they were just boiling with what I perceived as anger. But in reality, the emotion they were feeling was fear. Fear for my life.
In another situation, imagine your significant other is crying, and you just think that maybe they're going through a hard time or they're just sad. But in fact, they're crying in frustration about something you did, and they're actually extremely angry and ready to just rip our heads off. A good way to think about emotions is that emotions are really internal facts. And what this means is that we are not in control of our emotions. And emotions are not something that we can voluntarily change on demand. And this is especially true in conflict situations.
So since emotions are involuntary, we can't negotiate them or try to change them, especially in those conflict situations. Now, it's completely ineffective to try to communicate to someone or tell them, "Oh, don't feel sad, don't feel mad, don't feel angry," because they are internal facts. We can't change them, it's just how we feel. And it's equally ineffective to tell someone, "Oh, just be happy." So remember, emotions, internal facts.
We can't control emotions, but what we can focus on are the behaviors that are a result of the emotion. Behaviors are something that are voluntary and are definitely controllable.
In situations where emotions are running hot, oftentimes we feel more than one emotion.
One thing that's important to watch out for in conflict situations is something called emotional flooding. And so emotional flooding is an emotionally triggered surge of stress hormones that result in high physical arousal. A common figure of speech that can kind of describe emotional flooding is when someone is so angry that they say, "I could just see red." They were just overcome with anger in that moment, that their whole entire view was changing. And this is kind of what emotional flooding can look like in certain situations.
Defensiveness, stubbornness, anger, complaining, and whining are all behaviors that can lead to emotional flooding. Now, on the flip side, joy, affection, and humor are all behaviors that can prevent emotional flooding from happening.
So, why is emotional flooding a problem? Well, emotional flooding can really limit our ability to think and see things clearly. And additionally, emotional flooding can lead to destructive communication patterns such as verbally and physically lashing out against another person. Finally, we are going to talk about 5 things you can do to prevent unhealthy emotional expression in relationships and even just between people. First, you want to make sure you define roles in relationships and make clear what you expect from one another. If you are just friends or if you are more romantically involved, and this can translate in workplace settings and more personal settings. And if these rules aren't defined, it can cause confusion and frustration.
Third thing you want to think about is you want to make people feel appreciated. Don't make them feel resentment toward you. Acknowledge people when they do something, you know. This translates really clearly to the workplace. If they're doing a good job at their job, let them know. And in relationships, maybe the little things that they do to show that the other is thinking about you. Show appreciation for that. Fourth thing to think about is affiliation. Essentially, that just means, do people that I'm in relationship with feel as if they are accepted, if they belong, if they're included in my friend circle, in my social circle? If they don't feel affiliated, there's a chance that they're going to feel lonesome or disconnected. And fifth, last thing to kind of think about in your relationships is autonomy. You want to make sure that the other feels independent, that you're not hovering or controlling. You know, let them be them. Have time to themselves. Don't be suffocating to the other person, but, you know, have some time away. Now, these are just 5 things to be thinking about in all of your relationships to help promote emotions out of everyone that are positive. Because if negative emotions are present, there's a chance that there's gonna be more conflict in your relationships. Charlie and Hugh are best friends and are also roommates. They both recently graduated from college and have been looking for jobs. Hugh has a good job lined up, but he will have to move across the country and is going to leave Charlie behind. Charlie doesn't have a job and isn't sure if he will be able to keep the apartment they have been sharing, and is dreading his best friend leaving. We pick up the scene with Charlie and Hugh having a conversation about the future.
Guess what?
What's up?
Next week, I'm leaving. Next Monday. Check out my new apartment. So excited. Looks pretty sweet.
Yeah, that'll be fun.
Yep. Checking out the city. Heard there's some pretty good coffee shops around there, so
Yeah,
be nice. Right around the workplace too, so it'd be cool.
whatever.
Yeah, you don't seem that excited. What's going on?
Dude, man, it just you got a job, you're going away and across the country. Just left here. It sucks, dude.
Sucks. Why does it suck, man? You should be happy for me. This is big for me. It's a breakthrough. It's my life.
Dude, it sucks because you're leaving. I'm gonna be here all by myself. You're gonna go off and have your big job. We're both graduating, and I'm just here.
Hey, what's the deal? Like, why do you always have to get angry over stupid things like this? It's like something good happens for me, and you're just all of a sudden angry at me, like uncalled for.
It's not that I'm mad. I'm not mad. I'm just more afraid. There's just so much uncertainty in the future. I was comfortable here with what we had, and now it's just being blown and shattered away. We're both graduating, things are changing, and I just don't know what the future holds for me. So I'm more scared than anything.
Yeah. No, I get that. It's gonna be a lot of changes. It hasn't really hit me yet, but I think it's gonna be hard for me too. And I'm sorry, I misinterpreted it. You know, I just thought you were getting angry at me for something good happening like this, and I get where you're coming from.
Yeah, man, I am excited for you, don't get me wrong, but it's just, I am a little bit jealous of you going off, and I'm here, and just not sure what's gonna happen next, but you know, one day at a time, right?
One day at a time. What we saw in that scenario was a good example of how emotions can be misinterpreted.
We saw Charlie getting frustrated, and his emotional expression was interpreted as anger, but in reality, he was just afraid. So oftentimes it can be very unclear to outsiders what you are actually feeling. So it's important to communicate that.
So, and one thing we saw that was effective in this scenario was that Charlie, instead of escalating the situation when Hugh accused him of always getting angry over stupid things, was able to express what he was really feeling and bring clarity to the situation.
Emotions can run hot and can oftentimes be a driving factor in conflict situations. So take a second, make sure to communicate your own emotions. Don't jump to conclusions about other people's emotional expression. Our emotions can completely drive an interaction, whether it be positively or negatively. So it's important to think about them and keep them in mind in conflict situations. So it's important to think about the 5 things that help prevent unproductive emotional expression.
Hey, thanks for watching Keys to Conflict. We'll see you guys next time.